Well, good morning to you. Welcome to the Morning Brief. I'm Jeffrey Uzam. As always, we're right here to do the best we can to serve you, bringing you up to speed with what's going on in the polity and across the country. Guys.
And of course, arming you with information that you can use as you get along the way and give you your perfect morning starter right here on Channels TV. Welcome. I am Bukola Koka.
So let's start your day, shall we? I'm Kayode Okikulu. I know it's well, some sort of celebration for the fans of a certain football club who did the impossible yesterday. Even they were shocked. You know, when you're seeing the result on the scoreboard, you see 3-0, and even you, the team, the players, you're shocked. I'm talking about Arsenal, Real Madrid. It was good to see yesterday. And for some reason, Nigeria has a lot of Arsenal fans. Well, I used to think Nigeria had a lot of Chelsea fans, but apparently there is a lot of Arsenal fans in Nigeria. I should have seen the celebration yesterday. It felt like Independence Day for a lot of them because I think they have gone through a lot. So congratulations, and I really hope that that winning will go across, go all over. But that's one of the big things that happened last night, particularly for sports lovers. But if you come back home, Jeffrey Bukola, the situation in Bode State, on the plateau as well, listening to the governors who are meant to be the chief security officers speak about the security situation, it just leaves a very bad taste in the mouth. The governor of Plateau State saying bandits have taken over 50 communities. The governor of Borno State saying that terrorists are also gaining ground, like they're taking ground in a state that has a government, in a nation that has a government. It just really messed me up yesterday, guys, hearing that.
And, you know, that's what takes most of the space in my mind as well, Kayode, this morning, particularly because in the last decade plus, billions of dollars have been spent on security. Security gets the chunk of the allocation annually in Nigeria's budget, and still a handful of Nigerians. Increasingly, you know, insecurity is encroaching across regions now. Nigerians remain unsafe, and it gives cause for reflection. Everything else, you know, falls flat in the face for an administration that is unable to provide security of life and property for its citizenry. And another thing that we just may reflect on is the comments from the National Security Advisor yesterday, encouraging the citizens not to pay ransom to kidnappers, that works against the efforts of the security agents, you know, to rein in on the situation. And, you know, I'm just wondering about the practicality, you know, of that approach, because until, you know, your loved one has been kidnapped, you never know what it's like, you know, the efforts to try to get them out. So the Nigerian government, you know, must meet its commitment, must fulfill its own end of the social contract to the people. And the key, the most important, is providing security, you know, for its people. And so carnage on the plateau, you know, insecurity in Nigeria's northwest, insurgents returning increasingly to Borno State, and the governor crying out to the federal government to come to its rescue. Indeed, the APC-led government has not fulfilled its promise to the people in the last decade. And, you know, officials of the administration must reflect on this. Jeffrey, I don't know what you're reflecting on this morning.
I'm kind of worried, surprised, suspicious of a lot of things with the development in terms of insecurity. We've always had insecurity with us. It spikes, comes down, spikes. I'm just trying to process what is responsible for this current spike. Because there was a time, not as if it was good, but let's use the word improved. Either we didn't report it properly or adequately, I don't know what to say. But if you notice, there's another spike this time. And when I hear people like the governor of Borno State now admitting, because you hardly hear him admit such, you know, making such a statement at this particular time. So when you hear the number of communities that have been sacked or taken over by these terrorists, it's very disturbing and it's very concerning. And then when you look at, listen to the governor of Plateau State as well, it's very worrying what is going on. And I benchmark it on the value for human lives. We must do all we can as a government, as a people, to protect the lives and property of the people. What exactly went wrong again? Because there were gains at some point. And now it's like everything is just falling flat on its face, and it's very intense, it's moving at very fast pace. So it's really, really disturbing, something we need to look at critically. But at the fundamental part, just like my colleagues have said, is anytime you hear this incident happen and people die, let's remember that it is human beings that are killed, not animals. And this is very, very, very crucial. Human beings, human lives lost here. So we're talking husbands, wives, children, and the rest of them. And so we have to look at this as much as possible. And guys, I just got the news as well that for me, the unconstitutional sole administrator of Rivers State, that is in my books until the Supreme Court decides that, has also approved the appointment of administrators in the local government areas. There's a court case, is it a court order now, trying to stop that already. So it looks like the guy is really running a government in that sense. So I don't know where this is going, how this is going to play out eventually. But hey, let's tell you what we're doing today. So that's the information we just got from Rivers State as far as the Rivers intriguing politics is concerned. But one of the things we'll start off with is Kano politics. Kano is one of the states we call the unique twos, where two emirs are laying claim to the throne. So we're going to look at Kano politics, the NNPP politics, the APC politics in Kano, and all the interplay as it affects the traditional institution and the politics itself ahead of 2027, guys.
That's not all. We'll be staying with politics as we, also have another chat with Chief Bode George, a life member, as he's declared himself, of the People's Democratic Party Board of Trustees. And he'll be with us to talk about issues in the polity, the state of the nation, and internal issues within the PDP.
He's actually a life member of the BOT.
There you go.
It's not a self-declaration.
And rest assured, the Rivers situation is big in that conversation as well. But we talk international issues as well in the wake of global tariffs imposed by President Donald Trump and the threats of even more tariffs. We'll be taking a look at how this tariff will affect food security in Nigeria. Nigeria got 14%, right? As well as what our government needs to do to mitigate the effect, if there will be any, on food in Nigeria.
That's not all. This week's edition of Innovator Breakfast puts the spotlight on Ibirunke Yekini, a woman making a name for herself in cybersecurity and digital innovation.
And I'll head out to talk about music. It's been a while. Let's talk to Sonny Badu. Yes. He doubles now as a singer, but more of a pastor from what I've seen in his work recently. So we're talking to that Ghanaian international music, gospel music superstar, Sonny Badu, on the program. So just chronicle his journey and what he has on offer and his new phase as a minister, not just as a musician.
There you go. So a lot to look forward to on the show today. We come prepared, we come armed with the right kind of information and conversation. So let's just dive right into the dailies for you this morning and take a look at how they are reporting the big stories here in Nigeria. This Nigeria is first on our lineup, and this Nigeria just basically add some voice, give some more volume to what we started with. Boko Haram, we're losing ground in Borno, says Zulum. That's the governor, in case you're wondering. Governor raises the alarm over renewed insurgency attacks, abductions. Plateau Governor Mutwang Afenifere, state need for state police. Here we are again. But there's some sort of back and forth in the Labour Party. NLC tells INEC to remove every insignia of Abure-led NWC from its portals. Puts police TSS on notice. I'm just going to leave it there, really, and allow you to just chew on it.
It's very interesting what's going on with Abure-led and NWC. I really don't know who's behind him. If you know how politics plays, when you're a presidential candidate, the governor, the new governor, literally every member of the National Assembly, literally everybody who is a chieftain in that sense, that gives you the powers that you have.
The Constitution gives you the power.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, as politicians reason.
Right.
You know, I'm not talking about the Constitution, because the argument now is that the court has said, go and sort yourself out. Leave us out of this, your shenanigans or whatever it is you're arguing over. And he's saying he's still in charge. I don't know, but if I was to advise him, it's time to look at the bigger picture. I'm talking about Julius Abure, but it looks like he doesn't want to go down without a fight.
Whose bigger picture would he look? Because he'll tell you, I have a big picture, and guess what?
What I'm saying is that the chieftains have all left him. I mean, the top
The
chieftain.
truth is, they always say the party is supreme.
Yes, of course.
In fact, that was the case before the Fourth Republic. You'd always hear the party is supreme. It was always the party chairman that can summon anybody in
It's
power.
in that constitution, actually.
You get, and say, well, this is what is happening, this is how we need it to go. But now it's the other way around. It's the big spenders that have taken over the party and tell the chairman what to do and what not to do.
And you know, Kade, it is exactly that line of thought that the legal advisor of the party is hanging on, you know, to say to the world that the Supreme Court, what the Supreme Court is actually saying is that it is a party that is supreme, and it was a Congress that duly elected him and gave him a second term. And to that effect, he remains the national chairman of the party. So it's a legal conundrum. And an aspect of it that makes me wonder is how a Supreme Court verdict does not resolve issues, whether it's party politics or whether it's real issues of administration, like local government elections.
I'll tell you why.
That, you know, even the subnationals are giving a certain definition to. So
I'll tell you why.
Efficacy of the
when the court says, go and solve your problem.
Yeah.
So everybody who has power, if it is money that is your power, if it is position in Abure's case, you drag as much as possible. Let's go to News Direct. Nigerian News Direct this time. Let's talk, I think this is not security. Tinubu's appointment based on merit, not tribalism. Presidency fires back at Ndume, once against undermining national trust and unity. So Ndume is at it again. You know, the last time he spoke, he was removed as the chief whip. I think he had
suspension.
Yeah, no, he wasn't suspended. He just escaped suspension.
Okay, yeah.
He was actually demoted in that sense. He's no longer a principal officer. But Ndume is somebody who doesn't back down if he believes in something, whether it's right or wrong. But I see what he's saying sometimes. You know, we've always, if you look at the people that have manned, perhaps our money movement, allow me to use that word. I'm talking about CBN governor, my minister of finance, customs, I can go on and on. They are all manned by people from the Southwest. FIRS.
No, well,
there are so many. The accountant general, I think.
The north central part of the Southwest.
So
it's really mind-boggling. I've never heard that before.
The north central part. So a lot of, that's why it's called Yoruba-led. Whether the president likes it or not, these are facts available to the people who man these spaces, and that is what Ndume is looking at as far as it's concerned. In fact, some people in the Southwest are saying, no, it's not Southwest. It's Lagos boys that are manning this thing. So the presidency should look at, well, as we said, the president has a right to appoint who he wants to appoint.
Simple.
But Section 14 of the Constitution says, in doing that, you must be sensitive to our plurality as a country.
Well, he has ministers representing states. That's the argument.
Yeah, talking about people that are manning the juicy positions.
What? How do you mean juicy? Every ministry is important.
Now let's make you Minister of Environment.
That's very important. You know, without the environment, you can't do anything.
You'll be speaking English.
Well, I think Senator Ndume will be fish without water, out of water if he's not in the National Assembly. So he's rightly positioned where he is. But let's take a look at the Blueprint newspaper this morning, and it shows a different part. This time it's, you know, focusing on President Trump's tariff. Blueprint newspaper this morning. Take a look at the headline. Following Trump's 14% tariff on exports, FG to review budget parameters, sustain oil, mineral production volume, and take a look at, you know, the, what would you call it now? The two riders are focused on budget adjustment, non-oil revenues, FIRS, customs, EDU, lack of corporate governance, bane of power sector. Okay. But the blueprint also updated, you know, just before bedtime, and focused also on the Borno State's security situation, where Governor Zulum is calling for, you know, support from the federal government to tackle the security situation. And there you have it.
Okay, so just before I run away, The Guardian is leading with 16 doctors. I needed to point that out. 16 doctors exit in 7 years. The fiscal
16,000.
16,000 doctors, my apologies. So look at that headline. 16,000 doctors exit in 7 years, a fiscal loss, says FG. Well, I'm sure maybe we have around that number, slightly more than that. But that's the number. That's the reality we face as a country. We need the doctors, so we need to train more. Yeah. If perhaps we may just agree that we need to be exporting doctors, because at this rate it's very alarming that our health system is struggling, and a lot of these guys are going to where their talent is appreciated a lot more. So no matter the English that the minister and the government is speaking, if the people feel underappreciated in terms of the environment, then it is what it is.
They'll definitely take a walk.
There you
particularly
go.
when they have better opportunities outside the country.
So when we talk about exporting, we're not really talking doctors. We're talking more of finished products and all that. This one is not the kind of exportation that we are looking forward to. And just to refer to the blueprint of today, today's newspaper talks about that Natasha Akpoti-Oduah slamming 5 billion naira suit on Senator Boye. That's the blueprint for today, Wednesday, April the 9th. But those are the dailies, guys.
I think they should go and face themselves in court. Mr. Boye, the senator, has really been an advocate or like a defender of the Senate president. And he said
or the Senate as a whole?
The Senate president, especially. I've interviewed him. It's almost tempting to ask him, are you the DSS investors? But he's an interesting gentleman. You should go and face his day in court and let them prove themselves whether it's right or wrong.
I'm really looking forward to hearing his account of how he was really at the scene of events.
He said it time and again.
He said it time and again.
We just want to hear, an up-close account. How he was with
I think
them
I've heard it too much.
every step of the way.
Okay. I was there. I was there in the same boat.
So he followed them every step of the way.
I did ask him that question. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get to the very first conversation for the day. We'll start with the Kano politics and his intrigue right here on the program. Join us again. Let's begin with what is playing out in Kano State. We're being joined by the chieftain of the new Nigerian People's Party, former council chairman, also former senior special advisor to former Governor Abdullahi Ganduje. Joining us from our Kano studio is Mr. Habibu Saleh Meilemo. Mr. Meilemo, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Good morning, and thank you very much for having me.
Before we get to the conversation around Kano and its intrigue and its politics, I would like you to speak broadly to what we're experiencing in the north, whether it's northwest, north central, and northeast. So we've seen what has played out on the plateau with the killing of over 50 persons, and we've also seen the admission by the governor of Borno State, Babagana Zulum, talking about these elements taking over communities in large numbers and literally confessing to the fact that, stating to the effect that the gains that were recorded, the states and the country is beginning to lose grounds. You live and do business or do the things you do in the north. It appeared we had some level of success recently, but that is quickly eroding. In your view, what do you think is going on here?
Well, first, I would like to thank you for the opportunity given to me to actually say one or two things about the happenings around the north, which I believe everyone is aware that for the past 8-10 years, there's been a serious issues relating to security and largely the activities of Boko Haram, the activities of bandits, and host of so many other issues that really affect the even progress of the north in many aspects. And like you rightly said, it has been a 2-step forward, 1 step backward. We have recorded a lot of success in certain areas, especially there are a lot of success recorded in Borno and several other areas. Issues that have been happening around Kaduna, Abuja highway and all that, there are a lot of success around that area in terms of curbing the excesses of the perpetrators of this deadly act of violence and whatever. And also, recently, there are a lot of successes recorded in the fight against the banditry around Zamfara and a host of other areas, even though there are still pocketfuls of such instances continue to occur. If you look at the whole issue, to me, generally, initially, those issues were not taken serious when they supposed to be taken serious. politics plays a serious role into deteriorating situations, and a host of so many other actors then did not foresee the kind of magnitude of what the situation might end up being like. And the generality of the common mans are actually the ones that are suffering. Businesses is actually going down. People lost confidence in governance, and host of so many other issues. And now coupled with the current economic situation, things are actually getting worse, and it's a serious call for concern. But despite all that, we still have to acknowledge the fact that sometimes you recorded a massive gain in certain areas, and you get another attack from somewhere, like the unfortunate incidents in Jos, and also the handful of other things happening around Borno and other areas of the north. So this is really something of a great concern, and I believe that is why at this particular point in time we have to look beyond politics. We have to look truly beyond our individual political parties. We have to actually come up with a collective resolve to fight this thing and to fight it in total, be it whichever way possible. But it has to involve so many people. Those that decided to keep quiet need to talk and continue to talk. And that is why in Kano, it is seriously a point of concern, where federal governments or other players from the opposition party tend to joke around with issues that have a potential to degenerate into serious security issues. The way issues of maybe the way the federal governments or the police are even handling issues, politicizing everything simply to satisfy the ego of some few, actually is a serious point of concern. Because Kano has been holding itself, and it has been a rallying point. It has been the state where the neighboring state actually run to actually feel the sense of security and what have you. And if by the activities of the police directly and that of the maybe federal government and other elements that chooses to take their political struggle to the last level, you understand, trying to create rooms, trying to create cracks where maybe if it's not handled very well.
And we hope
then,
that it stays that way.
Affect Kano in generality, and that will now
Chief, we hope that it stays that way when you talk about, Kano being the state that the others run to in terms of security. But if we had cause to reflect on other aspects of life in Kano, there may be cause for concern. And I'm, referring to Kano politics now. Watching political events unfold, the cancellation of the Durbar, the reports of violence, as Emir Sanusi, chose to embark on his own horse ride. Prior to that time, reports of unrest between youths who were divided, along factions, some in support of one emir, the other in support of the other emir. Is the NNPP having cause to, the NNPP-led government now, to reflect on its role in the repeal of the emirate law, the new legislation, which has now led to Kano having 2 emirs, unprecedented in the history of the state?
Well, I think every person in Kano has responsibility, irrespective of the political party, but one needs to really place everything where it will be crystal clear for all to see who is really at fault. Now, the Kano State Governor is the Chief Security Officer of the state. And until a day to Salah, you understand, we have received several briefs, several commitments from the police that everything is going on perfectly. There is no cause for alarm. Things will be done as per the tradition, as per the way things have been going on before. And even I believe, even 24 hours or so before Salah, there was a general security meeting with the state governor. There was never any alarm that was raised by the police or by any other serious-minded security outfit about any chances of anything happening. And even at the eve of that particular Salah, the Emir Aminu was already on the air confirming to all that he is no longer going to go on with his own scheduled dava or what have you, and which also calm nerves and also give the good atmosphere, a good vibe in the state. Only some few hours to the whole programs, the police received their instruction from God knows where and decided to say that they have banned the dava, the Salah celebration, and also they have, but they are very specific about what they have stopped, what they ask people not to do, that they should not ride on the horse and what have you. And even now that I think there is a substantial compliance by the directors of the police. And also I want to chip in here, creating a false scenario, creating a false atmosphere that created fear in itself actually is disservice to the state and also disservice to the generality of the people. You understand? Because where police, we have seen what happened when the Maulid is going to take effect in Kano, where the police created a false narrative that there is going to be this, there is going to be that from the sources, which are verified not to be true, and also the Maulid took place without any problem. And the government has its own ways and mechanisms through which it also generates its own data, its own information as well.
Right.
Because for a very long time in Kano State and under this particular dispensation, so much of the police issues, you understand, there is no reliability as to what and who is actually dictating the tone here in the state. And because of that, the state will have to definitely devise its own means through which it generates the information and also was able to do whatever it is that is. And even if you look at from the press, you can see it was a successful Salah celebration. There was never any incidents, you understand, that even warrant mentioning, because yeah, there is a particular incidents which even the emir and host of other people that were in the entourage have not even had a single notice of it. And even the report of that particular Salah police report has proven that everything is done successfully, only for the police to also begin to come up with another issues, hoping to create chaos in the state and what have you.
Well, Mr. Milan, one of the chieftains in your party, pardon me, had also alleged that there were plans to maybe declare a state of emergency in Kano State. Is that something that you're aware of? Is that something you can confirm? And what proof or evidence do you have to that effect?
Yeah, I believe every Nigerian that is actually following off the happenings in the state, you will attest to the fact that there are certain people working with some other group, either from within Kano or somewhere else, that are coming up with numerous attempts to disrupt the peace enjoyed by Kano people, and also to create such an atmosphere where probably the state, because there is a clear glamour for that. I believe that everybody knows that what happens after the declaration of state emergency in Rivers State, where we have seen the supporters of the APC here in Kano, in all their numerous pages, social media pages, and the commentaries saying that Kano is the next, Kano is the next. And I believe that alone in itself confirmed the fact that so many people are actually hatching plans here and there, trying to make sure that that happen. And I believe if the state continues to give in to those empty threats or continue to give in to what those people wanted, you understand, that is trying to give this atmosphere that the state is not doing well, that there is a chaos or there is a potential crisis in the state, I believe no matter what political gain they intend to achieve, it is going to definitely have also a consequences on them and on whatever they want to do. But alhamdulillah, like I told you, the state governor is right on the top of the situation. We have our own security architects that provides the needed information, at least for us to act in such a direction that prove to all that it is just a plan, it's just a conspiracy to make sure that Kano is painted in such a way that will now allow for maybe any kind of decisions the federal government may choose to take.
All right, Mr. Melemo, let's talk about your party politics for the time we have. And I want you to speak to the issue or not of the level of interest in the coalition. Your party came fourth in the last presidential election with over 1 million votes for Rabiu Kwankwaso, who is the leader of the party at the national level. And there has been conversations around SDP, NNPP, Labour. You know, we're just hearing conversations here and there. Where does the party stand as we speak right now in terms of coalition? Because the NNPP rather, if it has to make any significant inroad across the country beyond Kano, which is a stronghold, it needs stronger ties with other political parties. In which direction is the party looking?
Well, what you said is actually correct. It is for every political party, the most important thing is to see that it has actually gained inroad and also continue to create alliances where necessary. But as for NNPP, I think the most important thing and what the party actually has settled down to focus on right now is to make sure that in the state, for example, Kano, where is a stronghold of the party, we have given people, the Nigerian people, a lot to see and judge. You understand? Because the most important thing is not just about coalition, it's not just about trying to kick the government out, but it is about creating an alternative that is viable enough to earn the people's trust. And that is exactly what the party is trying to do. As I speak to you now, I'm not aware of any move by the so-called other opposition coalition to reach out to either the national leader or the party for this. And for those that know our national leader, he is somebody who does not just jump into any kind of a vehicle simply because he wanted to really achieve or to really kind of join forces with others for something that he is not yet sure of. So to us that are actually down, we are studying what exactly is going, but the focus mainly is to make sure that our party in Kano State deliver the dividend of democracy. Okay. And I believe that everybody will attest to the fact that the state governor is doing his best despite the hurdles, despite the attack from all angles.
All right.
He remains focused and resolute in trying to ensure that the ideals the party stands for has come to fruition. You've seen what he's doing in areas of education and several other areas.
We're totally out of time. We must thank you. In the coming days, we'll see how this evolves in terms of the relationships amongst political parties ahead of the next cycles of elections, if you will. The midterm of the current administration will be next month. So all of the assessment you're reading out will be easier and better at that time. But we must thank you, the chieftain of the NNPP, former council chairman and former special advisor to former governor of Kano State, Mr. Habibul Salim Mailamo, joining us from our Kano studio. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll switch gears to a conversation with a member of the PDP Board of Trustees, a life member of the PDP Board of Trustees, Chief Bode George, right here on the program. Join us in just a moment.
Welcome back. And so from the politics of Kano State, we do an aerial view of national politics. And we had this conversation earlier with Chief Bode George. Quite an interesting one. So stay with us for it. We'll be right back. Welcome back. So we're staying with issues at the heartbeat of the nation, particularly with the activists back at the trenches. Rivers, there's also the state of emergency. There's insecurity in the North Central. So joining us on this particular segment for what we hope will be a productive conversation is elder statesman and PDP Chieftain, Chief Bode George. Good morning, Chief, and thank you so much for joining us on this segment.
So we'll say good morning to you and to all the listeners.
Thank you, sir. So we finally got you, and we're going to make it worth our while. So earlier on Monday, we saw the Take It Back movement hit the streets, and in what was supposed to be a national police day, we also saw the treatment that was meted out on them. They were tear-gassed by the police, and in fact, our own correspondent was also attacked. Chief, what are your reflections on this series of events, particularly, you know, our democratic development? What would be your submissions as you reflect on these issues?
You know, it's very heart-wrenching for me. It's when you look back. When I look back at my younger days. This system we are running, where everybody is pretending that all is well. I want to appeal to Mr. President and his team. All is not well in this country. You know, the most striking one was, you know, the insecurity issue. Before, you will hear in the Southwest, oh, Fulani tradesmen and Fulani cowmen are already ravaging, killing, abducting. Now you hear also from the North the same issue that, yeah, Fulanis are being murdered. That sounds like something is not adding up. Our problem is that the system of governance, the type of constitution we are running, is not working. There is so much anger in the land, and there is so much hunger. And the attitude of the police, it should be, it's like you are trying to put petrol into the fire. People are now trying to express themselves peacefully. What is the essence of firing tear gas and beating people up, including these are signals of mayhem. It is unacceptable. Look, a former general, you know, from Castina was kidnapped. You know how long it took? He had a good job. He was the DG of the NYSC from Castina State in his house, was kidnapped for a ransom. Look, I believe that all the agencies, from Ribadu to the DGSSS to the Egbetokun, to all these people, they need to sit down. And all these people creating problem must be visited, be advised. Not only those boys on the streets, there are the quiet so-called billionaires. The amount of money they are making, the humongous amount of money. When you go to the bank, I don't know what they produce. You have MDs and the chairmen of these that having 4, 3, 4, 5 private jets. What are they producing in these banks? And it beats me hollow. I'm in my 80s now, so what am I running after? What am I looking for? Papa Adebanjo is gone now. Papa Clark too is gone. They have handed over the continuation of discussion, not fighting. The real problem, the government is not the solution to our problem. The government itself is the problem. They need to wake up. Mr. Bola Tinubu, President, please revisit And now it's a wholesome thing. The electoral process we are doing, if it is well done, you know, people will realize that every 4 years they have to go back to the people to renew their mandate. But because it is such a worthless, useless system, they don't care. Garbage in, garbage out. General Buhari also said, let me put something modern, a modern technology to handle it. You see the way Nigerians have already manipulated the system. Look at the judgment in Edo State election. It is terrible. We will just sit down lying and deceiving ourselves that all is well. All is not well. All over now. If you, whether it is genuine or not, you will hear people say, oh, they are killing Fulani people here. Oh, in the south, the Fulani people are killing us. Then who is killing who? Are we not all Nigerians?
But Chief,
So I find the whole thing so unsettling, very annoying, and as if there is no governance. Where is government? What is the major essence of governance? Number one issue, protection of lives and properties of the people. And they are not happy. So let them express themselves, but without violence.
But Chief, this would be a good time to cast our minds back to 2012 during the anti-fuel subsidy protests under the Goodluck Jonathan administration, which was led by your party. Government also used an iron fist at that time to clear anti-subsidy protesters from the Ganifa Army Park. So some would say that every administration is intolerant of dissent, including yours. So what would have been different if it was a PDP-led government that we had at this time?
You know, Rome wasn't built in a day. Nation building is not a 100-meter dash race. Because it happened before, does it give you the authority that it should continue forever? Don't you, even as you are growing up, are you not improving? The fact that it happened before, did it mean that you should repeat it? Do we learn lessons of why do you have history? Why do we have history? The pitfalls of yesteryears should not be repeated as we go forward. The fact that that happened at that time doesn't mean that it was right. So we cannot continue. Now it's even worse. We are talking about fuel something, fuel subsidy, fuel. But right now, whether you are a rich man or a poor man, I just told you, I narrated at the top echelon of the society, the so-called managing directors and chairmen of these banks, what are they producing with all the goddamn money they are all putting in their pockets? And we live in the same country. What are they producing? With the humongous amount of money they declare every year for themselves. Now, whether you are a middle class, upper class, or lower class, all is not well. I know how much I spend a week to assist people. My children are not in school. They cannot pay. There is no social services. There is no social anything in this country. The medical area is not working. The amount of money, you got to be rich to go to any hospital now for survival. I just lost, that reminds me, a very good friend of mine just passed away. He lost his money in the Heritage Bank. All his earnings over the years were all in that Heritage Bank. It collapsed. He called me, Bode, I have no money. I said, what are you talking about? You have no money. He said his bank collapsed until he passed on this week. He had a stroke, a massive stroke. Is that what he had worked for? A 79-year-old man? I mean, come on. So what are we deceiving ourselves? The redistribution of the wealth. That's one. Number two, the system of governance we are having is like a military organization concentrated in one position. They must devolve power to all the states. Allow the states to handle the resources in their state for the benefit of their people. Federal government has no business in creation of local government and the running of local government. We copy the American system. What has President Trump got to do with your county? The resources in New York City, the mayor of New York controls JFK, that is the airport. The seaport there, controlled by the mayor of New York. But look at it here. All the ports, everything around it is controlled from the center.
Well, Chief George, pardon me to come in here.
Go to one place. No, it's not right.
Let me just come in here,
It's
Chief George,
right.
and first to say our condolences to you and his family on the passing of your friend. It's a really sad one. And I just want to delve deeper into some of the issues that at least some of the activists are protesting over. You've touched on some of them. The state of emergency in Rivers State, the sole administration arrangement and all of that. And it looks like the more things change, the more they remain the same. And I want to refer to something that the president said in the early 2000s when he was governor. And he was referring to you, actually, saying that Bode George and his fellow travelers who believe in military arbitrariness have to be told in clear terms that their time has passed in that sense. And I think he was referring to when you were appointed military governor of Ondo State 1988 to 1990. But when you see what just played out in Rivers State, the appointment of a sole administrator, is it reminiscent of the military era? And when you say that things are even worse, all is not well, are you saying that this is worse than even the military era which Nigeria endured and thankfully passed through?
You know, a democratic dispensation has rest on a tripod, and they are all independent. A three-legged body is a very stable platform. I'm talking now technically as an engineer. You have the judiciary, the legislative arm, and the executive arm. Those three bodies constitute governance. All right? In the military, you don't have the legislature. Quick means you're standing only on two legs. That's the major difference. And so, saying, once you have a democratic dispensation with three independent bodies over the years, since the period of Abraham Lincoln, government of the people, government for the people, government by the people, meaning, yes, you will have the judiciary to handle issues, to settle issues, to explain the Constitution, right? Then you have the legislative arm that will be built purely to make laws, and the executive to run the system. If there is any disagreement between A and B and C, whatever, you go back to the law courts to interpret the Constitution legally. Now, the difference between military and the democratic government is what I've just explained to you. He said, yes, I should be reminded that I am no longer in the military. Of course, I know. I have seen both sides. Even when I was a military governor, I realized, having read the books of Baba Awolowo, I realized this failure, that there was no the legislative arm. How do you reach the people? Because the essence of governance is about the people. You are to make sure you utilize the resources of the land for the benefit of the people. So how do you have a feedback? How do you know if it's a military administration? What I did was simple. Every Thursday, throughout my 3 years there, we went out to one local government or two or three, depending on the time frame, in a day. Every Thursday, we will visit them to have a feedback directly. The Obas will be there, the youth will be there, the market women will be there, the elders in the local government will be present for us to let us have a feedback of what they are feeling about us. The various programs we are doing for them. And you know, on those state people, they are now shared to tell you. And it was always taking life. So you are able to fill it in. So what they are doing in Rivers, I don't know what the young man is doing there, but I tell you that the way by which they landed this, what do they call it now?
State of emergency?
Or the sole administrator.
State of emergency issue was absolutely unconstitutional. Was there violence in Rivers State? What was there in Rivers State? The Constitution is clear. And I told them that time that even in 1962, Baba Awolowo at the National Parliament reminded the then Prime Minister when they were going to create a state of emergency in Western region. He said, Mr. Prime Minister, I was physically there in the Western House of Assembly. There were two people that were trying to disrupt the procedure. Two people. He said, was there any violence in Morocco? No, Morocco. In Ibadan, in Mokola. He said, was there any violence in Mokola? He said, even immediately getting out of the assembly, people outside didn't know what was going on inside. He said, was there any violence in Ogbomoso? Was there violence in Badagry? Was there violence in Ajegule? Because all those areas were under Western region. He said, so why are you trying to create a problem where there is no problem?
All right, Chief.
It's the same thing today. Why are we repeating the problems of the past?
All right, Chief, let's
ensuring we avoid these repeaters, you know, the repeat of the nonsense in the past.
All right, Chief,
so the Rivers now, a young man is there. Stop, and I just read, I don't know, that he wants to carry his own budget to the National Assembly. A load of trash. Carry your own budget to National Assembly. That's an illegality. What has that? What has the price of? What has that got to do with the price of milk? We are not doing it right.
If I may come in
is governance.
For a moment, sir.
Devolution of power to the states. Reduce the power at the center. What we have is completely, the constitution we're running is completely military.
All right, Chief, if I may come in for a moment, if you can hear me, Chief.
It can never work. And it's not working. So why are we deceiving ourselves? Let's look into the other countries with history and all that.
Chief, if you can hear me. Yeah, I wanted to be sure you can hear me, Chief.
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right, great point you've raised, Chief. Let's dig even further. And if you look at critically what is playing out, what has played out in Rivers State that necessitated the action of the government is internal party issues. The governor is the PDP. The members of the House of Assembly, they defected. They said they didn't defect, that back and forth. But primarily, they are PDP members at some point. And then the FCT minister is also a member of the PDP serving in an APC government. And now we've had this judgment of the Supreme Court that was even interpreted differently. As soon as that judgment came out, Debo Logo-Agba said, Udo Okoye still remains the national secretary of the party. Then later, the deputy publicity secretary came and said, no, Debo Logo-Agba is misrepresenting the position of the party. Samayan is in charge. So it looks like the conflict in the PDP it is in itself problematic to the entire system to be able to push forward. So first and foremost, what is the position of your position as a member of the BET as far as that is concerned, and the ability to stabilize the PDP, to be able to stand as a formidable opposition, to be the front line before we even have CSOs and media coming in to be critical of government?
Brother, let me be very frank. You're right. this thing started like a little sore. Now it's almost like a cancer that spread. It started with the inordinate ambition of individuals. It just didn't start yesterday. But, you know, each time I refer to the 1962 crisis in Western region, before we knew it, by 1963, Awolowo was put in jail. By 1967, by 1963, Awolowo was put in jail. By January 66, there was the first coup in this country. There was a counter coup in July 1966. By 1967, we went into a civil war. Have we learned any lesson? Now, the founding fathers of our party got together, led by Papa Alex Ekweme. They looked at the country. What are the prevailing areas of friction, perpetual friction, that we should really address? They came up with a concept where every night, because in the Second Republic, majority people had their way, minorities were onlookers. It cannot work where you are all members of an association, we're all Nigerians, only majority tribes will decide who goes right, who goes left. So they came up with this brilliant concept. It's not novel, because that is what is practiced in Switzerland. That he divided, that's this, Baba Ekweme and his group, G14. He invited people from all over the country. Chief Bola Ige from the west, Papa just Solomon La, Papa Siroma, Papa Bamanga Tuko, all over, Professor Aminu, and all sorts of old people who had been in governance since the beginning of the independence. They got together, divided Nigeria into 6 geopolitical zones, and came up with 6 top positions. All right? President, Vice President, Senate President, Speaker, Secretary to Government, and the National Chairman of the party. So every zone will go home with one of these positions. And at the end of the 8 years, all the positions in the northern zone will come to the southern zone. All the ones in the southern zone will go to the northern zone. Very brilliant. There was equity, there was justice, there was fairness, there was, and it worked. It stabilized Nigeria from the military rule. Now, what had created this present mayhem was the tinkering of that concept. If you remember, President Buhari, where did he come from? Is he from Lagos or from Calabar? He's from Katsina. So after 8 years in the north, automatically by the system we had that had been established by these founding fathers, the presidential candidate must emerge from the south. No, they manipulated it. The chairman of the party, the chairman of the convention, all of them manipulated and created the mayhem. We advise.
All right.
Now, you can never, no, you see, I'm trying to drive to a point to explain to people. Okay, let me correct you. That was the beginning of this mess we found ourselves. Now, the PDP has a system by which we will resolve our problem. I want to assure you that the day we have the next meeting, we will resolve our problem. So many people have been interpreting, you know, the procedure, the laws, the constitution of the party to suit themselves. I believe that when we sit, thank God, I mean, I was one of those people who were elected the first convention in 1999. And the rules are clear. I spent 10 years working at the national headquarters of the party. So that was what led to all this infighting, pettiness, the judiciary or judiciary or whatever. All this involvement of people driving everything in different positions. But I have a belief.
Pardon me if I may come in there. You talk of manipulation.
Before you come in, my dear, let me finish this one.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
I have a belief that when we meet, we will fight, we will discuss, we will debate. In the long run, what will happen is that we will come to a decision, unanimous decision, because we will now put at the center of discussion the process that was established by the founding fathers of the party. Those who don't like it can take a walk and go and join another party. It has worked for this country, and it will work for this country. All these people struggling, fighting, pettiness, it's like a total madness right across the whole spectrum.
All right, Chief.
It's unacceptable to some of us. No. Harakiri has been committed by all sides.
All right,
so
all right. If I may come in there, Chief, you're not the first person that has expressed optimism that there will be resolution of PDP issues at the next NEC meeting. We're yet to see it, and if you refer to the past manipulations as a result of one person's ambition. One of the actors at that point who kicked against that process is the minister, Nyesom Wike, of the FCT, whom many have ascribed to being responsible for the rivers crisis. And reports, as a matter of fact, suggest that he's currently meeting with the state assembly members in the UK. Why has the PDP been unable to, institute any form of disciplinary action against the minister over these issues? Some say he is the one that is responsible for even the bigger crisis on a bigger level of the People's Democratic Party. That's on the one hand. On the second hand, and I'd like you to summarize this as much as possible, what is the value in this realignment ahead of 2027 of the third force, where we see actors like the Bauchi State Governor and the LP presidential candidate coming together? We see your presidential candidate, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and former FCT minister and former Kaduna Governor, Nasir El-Rufai, in the same political gathering. Is it anything that we should be paying attention to as far as 2027 is concerned?
What should come first? The people. Our attitude to manage the resources of this country for the benefit of the people. Individualism can never solve this. Personal ambition is a very dangerous, very stupid approach to problem solving. You must give in to something. You must allow the freshness on the minds of the people of this country. Governance is about them. Power should be from them. So why I'm so confident that we will resolve. Some of us will be there so that we tell these other people who are dancing on the graves of these founding fathers, so stop it. Bola, I saw, when he said that, Minister of FCT, go and deliver FCT to my party. What? And then it's saying, I cannot confirm this, but these are things that are flying all over the whole place. That, he's going to deliver rivers to APC. How? One, let us be careful. The system we are running, the electoral process is the topmost insane process I have ever seen. The same system was procured by the Ghana people. They ran it. It worked. Why is it that in Nigeria, nothing works? And it is mainly attitudinal. For self. And where has that landed us? Even the rich now cannot sleep. So where are we going? We need to take a step back and look at ourselves. You know, what are you looking for? What is it? If God has endowed you to that you are to be president, you will be. And if he says you will not be, you will not be. What is all about life? I mean, I'm also a student of history, you know. Look at Alexander the Great, that general that conquered the then world. At the age of 32, he was heading back home with all the resources, all the things he had stolen all over the world. As he was going back home, they said, look, you caught a disease that you won't survive. He said, what? He said, no. He said, okay, doctor, start distributing and, you know, all these resources that I've acquired. And that if I die, put my hands out of the coffin so that people will know I was going back like I came. Naked we came and naked we will go.
Right.
So what is this madness? Okay, those who want to be president, yeah, walk along the process. Don't disrespect the process. Don't manipulate it because you are causing trouble. And those people who are causing the trouble, we can identify them. And the party should be able to deal with them. Unfortunately, the NEC, which is the next most powerful organ to the National Convention, is yet to meet. They fixed a date now for May. That will be the deciding day for our party.
All right.
And you bet
that
some
Chief.
of us will be able to tell them, those who have erred, to say, you have crossed the red line, get the hell out of here.
A fine
There's
place.
nobody who is above the party. It's not a private enterprise for anybody.
A fine place to hang it there, Chief. And we hope to be able to quote you after that next meeting that indeed PDP has been able to put its house in order.
If we cannot get it
Thank
that
you
day,
so much, sir.
my dear daughter, if we can't get it that day, that's it.
Thank you so much, sir.
What happens to the other political party? If you want me to compare our party with the APC, the APC has no structure.
We're totally out of time.
If
you started at that now, it would take us on to another 5 minutes. We've been talking with Chief Bode George, elder statesman and PDP chieftain. Thank you so much for your time, Chief Bode George.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, we'll take a break now. We have more lined up for you on the program. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
What a conversation. And yes, the river situation formed a major part of our conversation with Chief Bode George. And guess what? Just this morning, another chapter, I should say, has been opened in the long-winding political intrigue in River State. Yes, we can confirm to you that the administrator of River State, retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibas, has approved the appointment of administrators for the 23 local government areas of River State. And that's according to a statement which was signed by the Secretary to the State Government, Professor Ibibia Lucky Warika. So we can confirm to you that a total of 23 administrators for local government areas of River State have been appointed by the administrator. But that's not all. We also understand that appointments have been made into the River State Electoral Commission for chairman and members. A total of about 6 or 7 names announced, chairman and members of the Rivers State Electoral Commission, or even more, I should say. So that's the latest coming in from River State. And guys, yet another chapter in this one. I know there had been talks about the limit of the power of the administrator, but clearly he's forging ahead with appointments.
Well, part of his mandate is to make regulations for River State while he remains sole administrator. Whether that regulation, whether this act is a regulation that advances the cause of administration forward in River State is another kettle of fish entirely. Was it supposed to, retain the structure that was on ground before? up until the expiration of his time. Well, Jeffrey gave us an update earlier that this is being contested in court, but we know that the political structure for every executive is the local government level, is local government chairman, the structure at the grassroots, and that is critical to winning the next election. So we wonder how this plays out for Rivers State in the coming days, particularly as we have a couple of months down the line to the 2027 elections. Of course, we also have many dissenting voices calling, demanding for a return of the suspended governor and the state assembly structure.
It's very concerning what is going on. So this is why when things like this happen, you give room to political permutation. So when actions like this take place. So for instance, the issue of the Rivers State Electoral Commission, I think they needed a certain number of people to be able to organize an election. And the way it works is that if those numbers are not complete, they can't organize an election. Of course, when these names are submitted, they'll be screened by the Assembly or so and all of that. So perhaps the National Assembly will have to do this. But for me as a person, the foundation is all shades of wrong. I don't know where in our Constitution this is allowed. I don't even want to talk about this. This is stretching it a lot more. You can't go on and on because it's going to redraft, look at the budget again, present it to the National Assembly, who will pass it and all of that. So literally the gentleman, the former military man, is running a government in that sense, as it is.
So there might be elections.
Yeah, so there may be elections. So a sole administrator organizing the local government election. I don't know what that is in Nigerian constitution.
Flies in the face of reason.
Did the president mention the local governments being suspended or dissolved in his statement? It was only the governor and the state assembly.
Yes.
So he didn't touch the local government.
He didn't touch the local government because by the time the Supreme Court judgment came, the governor had to tell the local government chairman, oh yeah, leave the seats. The court has removed you. So they now put, I think, heads of local government, I think the most senior administrator in that local government to run things, just like we have permanent secretaries running things in the absence of commissioners, and that was supposed to be for a while. So I don't know how this is going to work in the face of the law. The lawyers and the people of Rivers, they will have to make a decision. Is their destiny in their hands? If this happens, that this is not lifted, the suspension is not lifted before the local government election, that means a sole administrator will now conduct local government election for democratically elected local government chairman. I don't know. This crisis seems to be far from over, and this is just, I don't know. It's up to Rivers people to decide what they want for themselves.
What even catches my attention in that statement is His Excellency, the administrator.
There is no such thing as His Excellency, the administrator.
I think we should just scrap that entirely, because you are graded when you're done with the exam.
First, we're contending with the effect that it's unconstitutional to even have an administrator. It's not in our law. It's a discretionary latitude of the president feeling that, okay, since you are the dramatics personnel causing this problem, you guys should take a break. Let somebody take charge. That is a constitutional issue that is on his head. Yeah. So adding His Excellency to a sole administrator.
But don't forget that it's the technocrats that signed the statement. In fact, a very seasoned technocrat. So
what do you want him to do?
It's a product of culture. It's in our system. It's in our psyche. So perhaps if any of you got the appointment as well, you just may have referred to him as His Excellency.
Well, it's very sad what is going on. But for us as journalists, as media persons, we're not interested in whether it's Wike or Fubara. They can fight all their battle. We're about the Constitution. What does the Constitution say? That's where we stand. And from where we sit, from where I sit, I don't see anything constitutional about what's going on. But the court will make that decision eventually at the end of the day. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
President Trump apparently appears to be threatening that there may be more tariffs on the horizon, just when countries are trying to grapple with the latest tariffs introduced. Nigeria got 14%, other countries got even more, the EU got 20%. But more importantly is how this will affect you, right? How this will affect you staying thousands of miles away from the US. And we want to focus on food security in Nigeria? Because Nigeria imports a lot of machinery, fertilizer, and even food products. So how will this impact if Nigeria chooses to maintain status quo or do some reciprocal tariff move? We're joined on the program by the country director, Oxfam in Nigeria, Mr. John McKenna, is live in our Bode studio. Good morning, Mr. McKenna. You're welcome to the morning brief. Just get right into it. I know you've had experience in Action Aid, or USAID rather, now Oxfam. So speak to us first. When you see the tariffs, how do you see this affecting countries that are deemed third world or developing country, with the U.S. on its own part is trying to balance the trade deficit, but there are countries that are struggling even before that. Now there's more load on them. So how do you see this affecting them?
Good morning indeed, and good morning to all listeners. So this whole debate about tariffs in Africa and many other countries globally, I think there will be a lot of impact that will be there, the negative impact, and in Africa in particular. So perhaps we could look at Africa and then zero in terms of Nigeria. So first thing is looking at who our main trading partners are globally. So yes, US is one of those countries that Africa and Nigeria have been having trading relationship with. So the issue of tariffs is going to impact on a number of cases. So first of all, perhaps we could look at it from short-term impact. The short-term is that there will be reduction of exports that will be doing to the U.S. Yes, there might be demand from the U.S. business community in terms of what we have been exporting to the U.S., and probably that's an area where we should also be capitalizing on. Now, reduction of the exports would result into a number of results. One is basically reduced profits that the companies that have been exporting to the U.S. would be experiencing. That would probably lead to the reduction of employees. But at the same time, also, we should be looking at reduction of tax collection by the government, because the government is the main duty bearer. The government has a lot of responsibilities to ensure that its citizens are able to sustain themselves. So, number of issues. So, for example, when it comes to humanitarian response, the government is supposed to be the main player. But with reduction in taxes from trading and even from pay as you earn because of reduction of employees from companies that have been exporting, that will have an immediate impact. So you could look at different areas. For example, security as in state security. The government is supposed to be providing those services, road construction, water provision, and many other areas. But because of the reduction in tax collection, all these areas are going to be affected. Now, specifically when it comes to issues on food security, some of the exports that we're doing to the U.S. are agricultural-related products. So the reduction of that export of agricultural products will have an impact in terms of our own food security at local level in the country, because not many people will be able now to get what they've been getting, the profits they've been getting from the exports, and that will reduce production. Now, reduction in production of food-related products would lead to challenges in terms of food security in the country. So these are things that needs to be looked into. I earlier said this is kind of an immediate results, an immediate impact. However, long term, as a government, as a country, we should be looking at alternatives. What would be the alternatives? I mean, the U.S., when I was reading one of the articles, it talks about, I think on average, we have about 2% of our exports to the U.S. market. So if we are only looking at that kind of percentage, then we should be looking at what would be the alternatives. Would Europe, other countries in Europe, be able to take on some of these? Asia, would they be able to take on some of the products that we've been exporting to the U.S.? If we look into that, then probably long term, we should be right. We should not be affected per se, because we have another market that will be able to fill the gap that has currently been created. But immediately, because it will take a while before we are able to identify new markets. On the other hand, when you compare the tariff rate for Nigeria as compared to other countries in Africa, I would conclude personally that I think the exports that we have to US from Nigeria are things that the US government is also feeling like it will take them time to be able to fill that gap. And that's an advantage, I think, for the country to be able to negotiate well. I mean, think about countries like Lesotho with 50% tariff rate and compared to the rate for Nigeria. I think that's something that we need to also to be looking at.
But Mr. Makina,
and negotiate. Yes.
Yeah. Isn't the impact on food security in the country supposed to be minimal, particularly when you consider reports that the 14% tariff impact more on crude oil, which forms 90% of Nigeria's exports to the United States of America? So why should we be worried to that extent about how this would impact on food security back home? And maybe you want to elaborate more on that.
What I was saying earlier is that from the exports that we have, there is tax that goes to the government. There is also tax that's collected by the government from the employees. So I earlier indicated that reduction of exports, whether we're talking about crude oil or other gas products, that tax, if affected immediately, there will be a reduction of tax collection by the government, and therefore reduction of services that the government is required to provide to its citizens. That's where I'm coming from. Now, if people also, employees have been affected in terms of reduction in numbers, yes, there will be reduction again on taxes from income tax that was being collected earlier before the introduction of the tariffs, which is something that we should be worried about. Immediate impact is something that we need to work on, and yes, will be impacted, but long term is what I'm saying. The government and the other players should be able to find the alternative market and therefore get back to where the situation was before the introduction of the tariffs.
Okay, so let's look at it a little bit more, maybe slightly differently. I remember listening to, I think, Lawrence, that's the name, Lawrence Wong, this is Prime Minister of Singapore, when he was just unhappy about the tariff, because this tariff looks like both for foes and allies, it's on everybody. He was talking about, if you look at some of the reasons espoused by Donald Trump as to balance of trade, for them, for instance, as Singapore, in terms of services, you know, the Americans, they are gaining more, but it's more on the goods part. And then when you come home, our Minister of Finance had said that it may not be significant. In one breath, he said that. The other breath is saying that they are going to ramp up non-oil revenue sector to cushion the effect of whatever tariff is coming through. So perhaps, I wanted to find out from you, what are the kinds of products that is non-oil that we export, and how that will affect some level of viability for exporters within the within Nigeria, to those people that may be expecting to consume those products in the Americas, for instance. How much of impact will this be? Because, of course, price is going to go high. But I'm talking about the significance of the tariff.
I think there are a number of agricultural products. We're talking about things like cocoa that have been exported, spices, and all those things that have been exported to the U.S. But at the same time, we should also be looking at other products that are coming in from the U.S. into Nigeria. For example, wheat, which is coming into the country for making things like bread and other things. But this is an opportunity that we should also be looking at in terms of the long term. Long term, basically, where we should be looking at how do we kind of enhance the utilization of the local products that we have for food. I mean, things like cassava that we're growing, a lot of cassava, rice that we're growing, sweet potatoes that we are growing, Irish potatoes. I think these are things that we should also be capitalizing on. And if we kind of enhance on that, the impact would be minimized. And that's what we should be aiming to have. The key is basically looking at are we able to kind of go that direction? I mean, as I said, long term, yes, but immediate term, perhaps that's an area that we need to kind of sit down and bang our heads. The government is the main player, needs to look into that, bring in different industries to kind of look at all that and come up with strategies that should be aimed at minimizing the impact of how the country will be affected, and in particular looking at issues of food insecurity. Now, there are already issues that we've been grappling with. I think last time we've been talking about Right to Food Act and whether everybody in the country, despite talking about that, is able to attend that. And it's clear that many people in the country are not able to kind of meet their food security requirements.
Right.
And these are things that we need to be looking at as well as a country to ensure that now with this new development, because it's going actually to kind of make things worse. How do we go about ensuring that we can achieve that?
Well, Mr. McKenna, looking at Oxfam's history, Oxfam is basically a British, well, at the end of the day, Oxfam derived its foundations from, British idea, or an idea from Britain. It's a 21 independent NGOs yet, yes, but the goal was to basically alleviate World War II induced hunger and poverty. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's as much as we know about Oxfam. And now there are fears globally that the latest tariffs and the moves by the U.S. government, U.S. president, might be tilting the world towards another war. Some fear possible World War III. And seeing that what you're doing is basically to resolve something that came off World War II, do you share those concerns that people have, seeing the trajectory of things? Is that something you fear? And what might the world be grappling with in the coming years if we don't sit down and have a conversation around these issues?
So Oxfam indeed started during the Second World War II, and the aim was basically to overcome poverty and suffering that was going on then, and it continued up to date because issues of poverty and suffering are still going on. So as an organization, Oxfam sides against poverty and suffering. And as an organization, we believe that it's not just one organization, neither one entity that can actually overcome poverty and suffering. As such, Oxfam believes that working with others, and others would mean other organizations, other government entities or government ministries, will be able to overcome poverty and suffering. I mean, this is where we should be bringing together our different ideas, our different strategies to be able to do that, to overcome poverty and suffering. And this is very important. Whether what we are doing now or whether the tariffs can lead into the Third World War, I think that's something that needs to be discussed later. I wouldn't share that perception at the moment. But I mean, I still believe that together, including the media, actually, because there are certain poverty issues, certain challenges that we see globally, where the media would have a role to play. I mean, the whole issue that we talk about in terms of influencing and advocacy, the media has a major role to play as well, so that they're able to bring about sensitization and we could prevent some of the suffering that we see globally.
And indeed, we're playing our role as much as we can, advancing these issues, through the public space and for public scrutiny. We just hope that the conversation gets to the right places. If we could just get one more thought through on this subject. There are reports to the effect that Nigeria's own ban prior to this time on 25 items, pharmaceutical items and agricultural items, is what has elicited this 14% tariff on Nigeria. I believe the U.S. Trade Representative was speaking to this effect. But is that really plausible when you consider that Nigeria is not alone at the receiving end of these tariffs, as many other countries of the world have also gotten their fair share?
I guess what we could be looking at is there any opportunity that we can identify an alternative market? I mean, so that we're not bogged down basically here because of Trump's decision of introducing tariffs for the different countries, including Nigeria. So what we should be looking at is basically what we are producing in country. Is this something that can be marketed elsewhere? I think the key for me is to look at who would be the other major trading partners. And we could also be looking at what other trading zones can we penetrate into and be able to still trade and export what we are producing, whether they're pharmaceutical or agricultural products or petrol and gas products. But we should be exploring some other trading zones and trading partners globally. And that's, I think, the best that we can do. That's what I would say now.
There you go. Clearly, there's a lot to sit down and talk and act on. But I'm grateful that you're able to give us heads up about how this would affect food security in Nigeria and what must be done to mitigate that effect. We've been speaking with the country director of Oxfam in Nigeria, Mr. John McKenna. Thank you for your time.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
We'll take a quick break now. When we return, we have something special for you, so please stay with us.
Welcome back. Let's now speak with the founder, Testify Limited, product quality engineering leader, Ms. Ibironke Yekini, right here in our Lagos studio. Thank you so much, Ms. Yekini, for coming on the program.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
A lot is happening in the world. Whether I want to talk about tariff and that is affecting the global market, I think we're having that dead cat bounce right now that gives investors some level of leg up because the market had actually literally gone down at some point. But you are in the software aspect of all of this and developing technology in that sense to be able to bridge the gap. From what I read about you, and you're not the first we've had other women as well coming in to say, look, there's a lot of gap when it comes to women playing a key role in this space. And we're happy and excited to always bring you people here who are driving that particular space. So first question from me to you is, what is this new motivation really all about beyond closing that gender gap?
Thank you for that. I would say it's more about maximizing the opportunities we have. There are quite a number of opportunities we have, basically in tech skills and being able to deliver solutions. And if we are focusing majorly on male to be able to do the work, what then happens to the women who has the solutions or who have this idea that they could be able to implement? Of course, there are quite a number of solutions that have been built in Africa today, majorly by women, and for the tech ecosystem, from fintech solutions to software engineering solutions to government solutions as well. So I would say behind just closing the gap, it's also about creating more opportunities for Africa to be able to tap into the global market.
So I know that we call him our tech bro. That's Kyrie, by the way. He understands a lot about technology. But we're having a conversation yesterday, and one of the things in that back-end conversation we learned is thinking of developing things that is so homegrown that no matter what happens in the world, that we're good in terms of backward integration. Now, for instance, our crude oil, when I have refineries, some level of, we have it on our as our next door industry that we can refine things. But when it comes to technology, it looks like a lot is still outside here in terms of servers, in terms of the infrastructure and all of that. And sometimes when we talk about this and say, what if they turn it off on us someday? What are we going to do? All of the things we have been doing is just going to fall flat on its face. Is that something you're also contemplating?
True, but maybe not completely. It's solutions. And we have to agree that people have been an expert in building these things before we wake up at some point. And in course of implementation, there are a number of things to be considered. Level of expertise that is required to build these solutions. Secondly is the cost. Today, if you want to build solutions, especially infrastructure, you most likely want to buy everything in dollars. Yeah. When you convert that to Naira, you understand what it means already. So when you're trying to now build that by yourself, there's a level of expertise that is expected. The duration is going to take as well to build them. And stability is key, and which is where a lot of conversation around software testing comes in. It's not just about building solutions. If it's to build what we are getting externally and paying for, I'm sure we have fantastic talents within Nigeria that can build it. But it's about scalability, it's about reliability as well, which all of this speaks to the quality assurance of them. So yes, we contemplate about it, but the solution to this is financing them. Most of these solutions that you talked about that we have to tap from externally outside of Nigeria, they are majorly being backed up by their government finances. It's not something private organizations really have that much push to really finance. So as much as startups can push, can build solutions, finance is major key to really make this scale. And that's, yeah.
It's very interesting. We can have this conversation all day.
Of course.
And I think it's very important because of where we're at as a nation, right? There's a tendency to want to do what others are doing, just queue behind a certain line. So, for example, we have fintechs, right, which some have described as paytechs, doing certain things. So everybody just started doing payment platform. And you're like, come on, this is not the only solution. This is not even what fintech is all about. It's just a segment of it. And you realize that there are other problems in quote that we don't have solutions to because people are just following, fintech, okay, we had one unicorn, 2 unicorns, let's go there. So this conversation is important to help people begin to see that, wait a minute, there are lots of challenges out there and we can create solutions. But before that, I'm very curious about your tag. You are called Product Quality Engineering Leader. First, I know there's no course like that in school.
Of course.
So what does product quality engineering means?
Okay. So before I answer that question, I want to go back to what you first mentioned about, it seems everybody's doing the same thing in different styles and fonts and just changing brands. But it's also the market. What is the market requesting for? Right? Nobody wants to be the solution that is just lying there and it's not making the return of investment. It's also about what investors are ready to invest in. If you are bringing a blue ocean idea, for example, today, and you're saying, oh, this idea is going to be, because you have not seen something like that strive before, you might find it very hard to get investors to back up your ideas. So trust me, there are millions of ideas that are just lying low. But because there is no finance to kick it up, it's just there. So you get to say, a lot of people say, you know what, let me go into this fintech that everybody's going into. I can easily get the money, then I can now use it to diversify into other things. So I won't blame them much. Before now, you probably know software testing. And other people call it QA, quality assurance. But the truth is that these are activities that is being done. It doesn't actually speak to the overall of what the role is all about. When it comes to product quality engineering, it speaks to the central of the digital solutions we are building. Because it's not really about developing and writing the code. It's also about how does the user interact with it. How do you manage the feedback that comes with it? How do you ensure that you're even releasing something that is reliable and trustable to the application, to these users? You see, not just 1, not 2, not 3 times. Most of this fintech will just wake up one day and close up because they have been attacked externally or sometimes even internally as well. And that's majorly because when you drill down, at least to few that I've done my investigation on, they mostly do not even do what we call quality assurance. And we mix it up. There is software testing, there is quality assurance. Well, there are 2 different things. One is more of preventive measure, while the other one is corrective measure.
So which is corrective?
So
which is
preventing is quality assurance. You are ensuring that before it gets anywhere, before you even start building the solution, you are ensuring that everything that needs to be checked, talking about compliance, talking about everything is in place. They are building the right way you are supposed to build. You are not thinking about security as the last end of your building. You are taking it from the very beginning. That's quality assurance. Now, when you are built and you're trying to see that, okay, there are no more bugs, or like we call it in the application, then you're not doing software testing execution.
Which is corrective.
Which is corrective. So now there is now still post-deployment testing that you still have to do, because by the time you eventually put it, you now realize that, oh, there is an environment that you have been testing all along. It's test environment, but you have gone into the market and you have built this application for iOS users. Maybe the 18 big bros are the ones using the application they have built, but how about the ones still using 8 and 10? And then you start having to be running data scatter. So, but with product quality engineering, it speaks to the fact that you are thinking about the product from not just you want to write the code and build the solution, but you are thinking about it from the user's perspective, from the client's perspective, to the quality of the solutions. And of course, there is engineering that backs up everything there. So it's an all-round thing.
And so you said earlier that there's in fact an abundance of expertise to provide these technological solutions. But you know, the other aspects of the job, quality assurance, software testing, engineering, these fintechs have not done the work to, you know, to make the system fail safe. So where is the expertise is my own question.
Okay.
If we have not been able to take care of that, those other critical aspects.
Okay, they are in two places in the world. The expertise are more towards the builders, the coders, the developers. I mean, if you put up an application today for, you need a developer on XYZ, trust me, you're going to see tons and thousands of them within the short minute. And then when you put out there and say you want a test engineer, and then it seems like a cricket sound, because most time, because our system has also not come to the adoption of quality, we build something, and we are live, and people are using it, so why should I really bother myself having to test it? And I mean, we can always be fixing the problem as the people are encountering them. So the system has not yet fully understand the major importance of testing yet. Are people learning the skills? Yes. Do we have a number of skills? Yes, but are they still in Nigeria? Not so much. So most time you see a lot of US company, UK company, just put it out there, I need the software test engineers, and before you know it, they have taken them, right? So there's still a gap even in the number of talent that is needed in that particular market, skills that people can learn, and people can, I've always saying it, that you don't need to think that tech is all about just developing and writing code. There are so many vast areas in tech that you might not even need to write code, or you might even need to start without writing code and write code later, and which software testing is one of them. So talents are running out of the industry, experts. So you're now seeing people that are not trying to learn afresh, and to catch up from you trying to learn to becoming an expert level, when is the company going to meet up with their targets for the investments to return? So yes, we are training. I'm personally training people, and over the last 6 years, I've trained over 6,000 plus people, but not only in Nigeria, they are generally in US, in Canada, which is mostly remote. And most of them, when they finish learning here, they have the skills. They'll go out to where the market is for them. So for now, we are still advocating for more fintechs, for more organizations generally to hire more and maximize the use of them in your solutions.
So let's also talk about, Kyle has mentioned it, that everybody's doing payment system. I like the way you put it in different forms now.
Yeah.
But there is a problem we have on the continent in Nigeria. A few days ago, over 50 persons were killed on the plateau. Yesterday, we had the Borno State governor saying that communities have been taken over, literally saying that the gains we've recorded, we're losing it. So insecurity is a big deal in our country. I don't know what tech people like you will suggest to help in managing insecurity. I'll tell you why. Because sometimes government is so lazy to the point that just to put CCTV camera is a problem. It becomes a political problem. So I'll give you an example. While you were coming here, perhaps we passed through the place called Kara Bridge. I don't think there are CCTVs there. As busy, this is Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, a place prone to accidents and all sorts. Government has not put in, just recently they put lights, not also called CCTV. So what can the technology people do to help government, in case cost is a problem and all of that, to be able to help manage the states of insecurity in our country? Insecurity cannot just go away, but it can be better managed.
The first step would be the more partnership between government and private sectors. like you had rightly said, to build a solution is not a problem. I still believe we have solid organizations that have the solution that we are even needing, that we don't even need to get outside it to then be asking questions about. We already have them in-house. So we need government partnership to both support the solution in terms of funding and to collaborate with them to implement the solution from within the country rather than going to import those solutions. CCTV is the least of the problem. When you mentioned the security issue, we all know it's everywhere, right? But the question is, if as an individual, as a private organization, you wake up one day and say, I want to put CCTV in this area, you have to pay for that. You can't just wake up one day and decide to implement a solution on a government properties without communicating with them. So the question is, if you have to build a solution to implement for the security of people, but the same people that you're helping has to say no in one way or the other, because if I can put it in my house and I'm fine, but if I have to put it on the government role, I have to have conversations with them. I have to pay for implementing that solution. Yet there is no partnership in that regard. So I think partnership is the key. If that can be achieved, I believe a lot of problems
because it's quite sad that we have all of these techies in Yaba and across Nigeria. We have NIN, we have BVN, we have all sorts. We have so many subscribers and we're dealing with this issue. And then a simple technology that people have in their homes, like CCTV, government is not thinking of even implementing it. So even let's start from there, and then know where we can bootstrap from there. To better welfare. But thank you for coming, Ibironke Yakini.
Thank you.
Founder, Testify Limited, Product Quality Engineering Leader. I like that part, that leader part. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you so much.
And we must say your outfit looks beautiful.
Thank you.
It's just like you're shining. The morning brief color. Thank you for it.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. Let's take a look at some of the things you're saying on X, which is the social media where we go to find out exactly what you're saying. Okay, I think we should go to, where do we start from, Kayode? Maybe we'll start from the Borno state, where the governor said Borno is losing ground concerning the issue around Boko Haram, which we've talked about that time and again right here on the program today. My Gaskia says, I wish he could visit Azea village under Damboa local government. These people currently block roads. No one can pass. That is on our Nigerian soil.
And that is rather sad. Well, this is from Suleiman. Suleiman says, things are retrogressing not only in the northeast, banditry is also worsening in the northwest region. Government should wake up to its responsibilities before this insecurity consumes us all. An economy and value chain has been created from the menace, and it would be very difficult to curtail now. And that, you know, is a very, very vivid image painted in words of what exactly the situation is like. And just to add that it's not just in the northwest. What about the north central, Benue, and Plateau states?
Take a look at what
very concerning.
Take a look at what Sarinoja 7 says. Just pushes this forward. It says these are places where the government should declare state of emergency. And I think that point has been made time and again. Are people wondering why don't we have a state of emergency in areas where you have large-scale banditry, terrorism, kidnapping, and the rest? So, yet again, that point is made.
And the last one from this particular comment says, then what can, okay, this is from Sake with a lot of numbers. Then what can we do to regain ground? That's why you are there as state governor. You've done it before. I expect to see more to your credit. Uncle, please try for the sake of El Kanami and to bring back the name Borno, the home of peace. All right, I think just trying to tell the governor to, you know, for whatever you did before to make it work, I think you can do it again. But he's crying out, perhaps he needs support from the federal government. Okay, maybe we'll move from there to the picture we saw yesterday, or 2 days ago, the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike hosting suspended members of the River State House of Assembly in the UK. So the FCT Minister is abroad so you can see him with the members of the 27 members led by Amewule.
Martin Amewule, yes indeed.
I think having dinner in the UK.
Yeah, and that's the picture there. You know, from the time we saw it yesterday, we knew that it was bound to get people talking and wondering, you know, what exactly is happening there.
They deliberately wanted us to see. That's why they put out the picture. So that's for sure. If they don't want us to see, they will not put out the picture. Wow. But it's so sad to see elected officials now going to the UK because they are suspended. It's so sad. My brain can still not wrap around.
The president is in Paris. The president is in Paris.
Let's leave the president first. The president that suspended them is also in Paris.
Yes, in Paris. So
I'm just retracing that suspending elected officials. That's what my brain is not processing well.
Jeffrey and Kade, I'm wondering if this is some form of political tourism, if it's a time of relaxation between political godfather and political godsons. There are very many ideal places where this could have, you know, been taken to in Nigeria, and would keep some of that forex or even revenue back home. So again, besides the fact that we're wondering what the implication of this particular meeting would be on the current state of politics in Rivers State, they have also fallen short of expectation as far as patriotism is concerned in, you know, keeping the revenue back home. And, you know, we could talk about that for many of our government officials as well.
Let's take the thoughts of the people. Echoes of Reality says, when elective officials have masters, siege reign in the place of freedom. That sounds like a poet. I think I understand that.
Kade, you have the next one.
Well, Dr. Hezekiah Andrews. So I'm not quite sure if this is sarcasm, AI generated, or just you voicing your thoughts as clearly. He says, that's great to hear. I mean, maybe more great to see, right? Wike is engaging with the members of the River State House of Assembly in a productive manner. Hosting discussions abroad can foster collaboration and strengthen relationships. It's encouraging to see leaders come together for dialogue and community building.
I don't understand what you mean by sarcasm. I don't know what the guy... Anyway, Bukola, you have the next one.
Yeah, and indeed the next one is from BLVic Ash 3. I hope I got it correctly. Who says, the kind of politics practiced in Nigeria is out of this world. So there's nowhere in this world, in this whole Nigeria, to hold this meeting. It has to be in the UK. Wow. Well, you echoed my sentiment.
You know,
exactly.
I feel that sometimes when politicians go abroad to do things because of lack of trust for how it's going to leak, I'm sure they want us to see that they're in the UK. Trust me. If they don't want us to see, we will not hear. Every other meeting that will happen around there, we will not know until they want us to see it. Son of the Soil says it's important to remember that everyone will eventually move on from their current roles. It's concerning to see people struggling in the country while others seem indifferent to their plight. It's hard to understand how anyone can overlook such important issues. So those are your thoughts as far as those pictures emerging from the UK, the Minister of the FCT and his political sons, if you will, at the State of Assembly, having camaraderie, you know.
The most important thing, Jeffrey, is that we want peace in Rivers State and indeed in every other part of the country where there seems to be unrest or insecurity. Rivers, indigent citizens need peace.
Okay. So I'm sure you are wondering what that is on your screen. So let's bring you up to speed where we understand the Shekiri community this morning halted operations at the 28,000 barrel per day oil production facility in Ogidigben as protests aimed at the federal government. The action is in response to what they describe as unfair proposed ward delineation by INEC. That has been a long time. We've had this conversation a long time ago. They have warned that additional shutdown of oil facilities may follow in the coming days. So in the Warri, I think it's Warri South, that's where this happens. And that delineation has been a big controversial issue. It's a case that started in the 90s, and now it's culminated at this point. But we'll bring you all the details as we move on. Thank you so much for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Uzoma.
So many issues for the president to reflect on while he rests. Thank you for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow. I am Bukola Toka.
And I'm Kano Kikilu. Stay with us right here.